From declining oil prices to international sanctions, will Russia be able to handle the economic consequences of the current conflict? Or will they collapse entirely? An uncertain future for Russia's economy. Russia, one of the biggest economies in the world, is currently facing economic regression, slow growth, and a standstill in some places. While Russia had a potential GDP growth rate of 2% to 3.5% before making a claim on the country of Ukraine, this will slow down economic growth severely. And with enough damage done so fast to their economy, Russia is not likely to recover for a few more years. On the 24th of February 2022, Russia made an attempt on Ukraine, another sovereign state. This is an escalation of the Russo-Ukraine conflict, which has been ongoing for years, albeit dormant and lukewarm. 11 months later, the conflict is still as relevant as ever, with both sides taking massive hits. The war has produced the highest number of refugees in Europe ever since World War II, and this conflict has major economic impacts. How did the world react? And sanctions affect the Russian economy? The world has vocally condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Many human rights organizations believe the war is leading to the abuse of human rights and the devaluation of human lives. Due to this, many world countries have started sanctioning Russia since the war began. This is to force their hands to stop the aggression against Ukraine. For instance, the European Commission now agrees to sanction Russia by reducing their bank access, preventing participation of Russian companies in EU trades, and limiting the amount of money Russian individuals can deposit in banks. Also, the United States banned the importation of Russian oil and sanctioned the Russian bank. Also, Russian athletes are being prevented from participating in international sports tournaments. In a similar move, independent companies also have sanctioned Russia. This is an unprecedented move showing just how seriously everyone is taking the conflict. Back to Russia. How exactly are the sanctions affecting their economy? Russia's export sector suffering a major setback. With most companies seizing trade with Russia, their export-oriented companies are suffering. The problem is currently affecting many of Russia's export goods: coal, gold, petroleum products, steel, and timber. Many of these products are usually exported and are currently affected by the sanction gripping them. For instance, Russian oil now has a price ceiling on it rather than getting a total ban. This has reduced the profit they get from the oil. Also, the Russian steel and timber industry have not found an alternative to their exports that usually give them massive profits. Sanctions will have significant consequences for an exporting country, as they limit the country's ability to sell goods and services to other countries. This will lead to a decrease in revenue and economic growth for Russia, as well as job losses and unemployment. Furthermore, sanctions can also lead to a decline in foreign investment and an overall standard of living for the country's citizens. The ongoing conflict might ruin the future partnerships and trade with Western countries for Russia. If you find this video interesting so far, don't hesitate to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Russia's long-term growth potential is crippled. While Russia was constantly growing at an incredible pace before the war, the growth declined sharply, and it will likely take years to get back to where they were before the war. For instance, Russia's GDP has dropped sharply by 7 to 8%. This is not the first time Russia will be facing such an enormous economic drop. However, while they recovered quickly from the previous conflict in 2008 with Georgia, they may not be lucky enough to recover that quickly this time. Russia's possibility of long-term growth is pegged as the conflict continues. The low investment rate, low level of productivity, bans in trade, and unfavorable demographic trends caused by the war is crippling their potential growth. And if they are not careful, the country might be in for a very long recession. Russia's sports industry is taking a hit. Russian athletes have been banned from participating in many sports internationally. At first, they were prohibited from participating in international soccer and hockey. Then, their volleyball teams were also banned from competing in international games. And rowing, skiing, figure skating, badminton, triathlon, canoeing, and other sports decided to follow it not quite long after. Although these sanctions may seem like one that is only denying Russians access to entertainment provided by sports, their economic impact is also enormous. For instance, figure skating has been a cash cow for Russia. Russian figure skaters are internationally acknowledged, and the country has always been leading in the sport. This has helped their athletes as they have international fans and get endorsements from many companies across the globe. The interest and investment in Russian figure skating are because it is considered a national sport, and billions of dollars are invested annually into producing the best skater. However, with the skaters unable to compete with their colleagues worldwide, shortly after the recent pandemic kept them in for so long, Russia will most likely lose some of their investments in the sport. The problems the war already caused will take years to repair. But if the war doesn't stop soon, the consequences will be enormous. Do you think Russia will be able to handle the coming consequences? Or can war bring one of the biggest economies in the world to its knees? If the situation continues as it currently is, Russia may end up with an economic crisis from which it cannot mend itself.